As global economic tensions escalate, a pivotal round of trade negotiations between the United States and China has commenced in London. With both countries grappling with the repercussions of tariffs and trade restrictions, the stakes are higher than ever. The talks, which began on June 9, 2025, aim to address critical issues that threaten not only bilateral relations but also the broader global economy. The U.S. delegation, led by Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, includes senior officials such as Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Trade Representative Jamieson Greer. They are meeting with Chinese Vice Premier Hou Lifeng in a bid to resolve ongoing disputes that have been exacerbated by recent accusations from both sides of breaching trade agreements. Central to these discussions will be the trade of rare earth minerals, vital components used in technologies ranging from smartphones to electric vehicles. In a recent phone call, President Donald Trump described his conversation with Chinese President Xi Jinping as very good, signaling a potential thaw in relations. Trump expressed optimism that the upcoming meetings would yield substantial progress, stating, "Our expectation is that immediately after the handshake, any export controls from the U.S. will be eased and the rare earths will be released in volume." However, he also acknowledged that some restrictions, particularly on advanced computer chips, are likely to remain in place. The backdrop to this round of negotiations is a complex web of tariffs and trade barriers that have been imposed by both nations. Since the trade war escalated in February, the U.S. has levied significant tariffs on Chinese imports, while China has retaliated with its own measures. Last month, a temporary truce was reached, reducing U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods to 30%, while China cut its tariffs to 10%. However, both countries have since claimed violations of this agreement, complicating the current discussions. Economists are increasingly concerned about the broader implications of this trade conflict. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development (OECD) has revised its global growth forecast down to a modest 2.9%, attributing this decline to rising trade barriers. Weakened economic prospects will be felt around the world with almost no exception, the OECD warned, underscoring the urgency of the current negotiations. Recent data from China reveals that its exports to the U.S. saw a dramatic drop of 34.5% in May, marking the largest decline since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. This sharp decrease is indicative of the ongoing repercussions of the trade war, as analysts predict that the impact of the recent trade truce will become more apparent in June's data. As this high-stakes meeting unfolds, it is clear that both nations are under pressure to find common ground. Swetha Ramachandran, a fund manager at Artemis, noted the significance of Lutnick's presence in the talks, highlighting his role in shaping export controls on technology to China. "There are enough chips on the table here that could make it acceptable for both sides to walk away with desired outcomes," she remarked. In addition to the trade talks, Trump is also promoting a provision in a Republican domestic policy bill that aims to establish investment accounts for newborn American children, further emphasizing his administration's focus on domestic economic initiatives amidst international challenges. As negotiations continue, the global community watches closely, hoping for a resolution that could pave the way for more stable economic relations between the U.S. and China. The outcomes of these talks may not only redefine trade dynamics but also set the tone for future interactions between the two largest economies in the world. With both sides expressing a desire for progress, the coming days will be crucial in determining whether this round of discussions can indeed usher in a new era of cooperation or if the cycle of tension will persist. In a world increasingly defined by economic interdependence, the ongoing trade tensions between the United States and China have taken center stage, sending ripples through global markets and industries. As both nations grapple with the ramifications of their trade war, recent negotiations in London signal a critical juncture in their fraught relationship, with high stakes and significant implications for both economies. The dialogue has the potential to reshape the landscape of international trade. On June 9, 2025, senior officials from the U.S. and China convened in London for the first day of discussions aimed at ameliorating the escalating trade conflict. Although no formal agreements were reached, the talks revealed a willingness from both sides to explore pathways toward de-escalation. Notably, a White House official articulated a potential easing of U.S. export controls targeting China in exchange for increased access to rare earth minerals from Beijing, a resource critical for various American industries including automotive and technology. Kevin Hassett, director of the National Economic Council, commented on the negotiations, stating, "Immediately after the handshake, any export controls from the U.S. will be eased and the rare earths will be released in volume, and then we can go back to negotiating smaller matters." This sentiment underscores the urgency of the discussions, particularly as American automakers have reported production halts due to shortages of these essential materials. The backdrop to these negotiations is a complex web of tariffs that have severely impacted both nations. The U.S. has imposed an average tariff of around 51% on Chinese imports, while China retaliates with an average tariff of 32.6% on U.S. goods, as calculated by the Peterson Institute for International Economics. Although recent pauses in some tariffs have provided a temporary reprieve, the looming specter of re-escalation persists, with the U.S. having suspended its highest tariffs for a mere 90 days, set to expire come August. China's restrictions on rare earth exports, which were put into place earlier this year amid heightened trade tensions, have only compounded the strain. These minerals, including neodymium and terbium, are vital for the production of electric vehicles and advanced electronics. Hassett emphasized the necessity of reinstating the flow of these materials, asserting, "We want the rare earths, the magnets that are crucial for cell phones and everything else, to flow just as they did before the beginning of April, and we don't want any technical details slowing that down." As the negotiations continue into a second day, President Donald Trump expressed optimism, stating, "We are doing well with China," highlighting the complexities and challenges that lie ahead. The outcome of these talks could not only dictate the future of U.S.-China relations but also have profound implications for global supply chains and consumer prices, particularly in sectors reliant on Chinese manufacturing. Looking forward, the resolution of the trade stalemate hinges on the ability of both nations to navigate their competing interests while fostering a more stable economic relationship. With the potential for renewed tariffs and the looming expiration of existing trade pauses, stakeholders from both countries and beyond will be watching closely. The next steps taken in these negotiations will undoubtedly influence not just the prospects for bilateral trade but also the broader trajectory of the global economy. In a world increasingly defined by geopolitical tensions, the specter of conflict in the Indo-Pacific region looms larger than ever. As China intensifies its military activities, particularly concerning Taiwan, experts warn that a potentially imminent clash could reshape the balance of power in the region. Recent statements from U.S. defense officials underscore the urgency of the situation, signaling a critical moment for both U.S. strategy and international relations. During the 2025 Shangri-La Dialogue, U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth addressed the escalating tensions, asserting that China's ambitions to forcibly reclaim Taiwan could be realized sooner than many anticipate. This assertion is grounded in alarming data presented by Admiral Samuel Papero, commander of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command in DOPACOM, who reported a staggering 300% increase in military pressure from China against Taiwan over the past year. Papero characterized the current military drills as dress rehearsals for forced unification, indicating that the line between military exercises and actual conflict has become increasingly blurred. The implications of this heightened military posture are dire. The frequency of Chinese military incursions into Taiwan's airspace has surged dramatically, with the Taiwan Ministry of National Defense reporting over 3,000 sorties in 2024, up from 953 in 2021. This aggressive strategy aims to normalize military presence in the region, ultimately reducing Taiwan's reaction time in the event of a real invasion. As Papero noted, these maneuvers serve not only as preparation for potential conflict but also as a psychological tactic to shift Taiwan's perception of its security environment. The increasing operational tempo of the People's Liberation Army (PLA) poses significant challenges for the United States and its allies. With the U.S. military's ability to distinguish between exercises and actual military action compromised, the window for effective response is shrinking. Transcom has reported concerning trends in U.S. logistics capabilities, revealing that critical airlift assets such as the C-5M Super Galaxy have seen substantial reductions in mission-capable rates. Consequently, the U.S. military may struggle to mobilize reinforcements to the Indo-Pacific in a timely manner should conflict erupt. In response to these challenges, defense analysts suggest a multifaceted approach for U.S. policymakers. They advocate increasing the presence of U.S. forces in partner nations through existing status of forces agreements, enhancing military campaigning in the Indo-Pacific, and strengthening ties with nations under the Compacts of Free Association (COFA). By expanding U.S. military capabilities in these areas, the United States can better deter aggression and respond more effectively to potential threats from China. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte echoed similar sentiments during a recent address, emphasizing the interconnectedness of Euro-Atlantic and Indo-Pacific security. He highlighted the necessity for NATO to bolster partnerships in the Indo-Pacific region, particularly in light of China's military expansion and its alliances with countries like Russia, Iran, and North Korea. Rutte noted that China's naval capabilities are projected to grow significantly in the coming years, further complicating the security landscape. As tensions escalate, the potential for conflict remains a pressing concern. The international community must remain vigilant and proactive, recognizing that the actions taken today will shape the geopolitical realities of tomorrow. The future of U.S.-China relations, security in the Indo-Pacific, and the overall stability of the region hinge on how effectively these challenges are met. A concerted effort to bolster military readiness and strengthen alliances will be crucial in navigating this complex landscape. As the world watches, the next steps taken by U.S. policymakers will undoubtedly carry significant weight in determining the course of events in the region.